So what I'm going to talk to you about this time is actually one of the more fascinating things that I've learned in the many years of doing this work. Short and sweet, the brain has a natural built-in mechanism to heal from trauma. I would say if you're a human on this planet, you've experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form in your life. And the goal is to really integrate and understand that experience and make it a part of your person so that doesn't affect your relationships necessarily, but it becomes something as an asset. Essentially, when I do the trainings, I tell people, if you get a cut on your arm, or a cut on your hand, what happens to that cut? And most people will say, well, it scabs over, it heals, it does a series of things, blah, blah, blah. And that's absolutely true. If you think about it, there's a series of sequential events that happen pretty much the same way every single time a person has a physical injury to their body. So why would we think that the brain is any different? And in fact, it's not any different. The brain has a built-in biological mechanism to heal from trauma. And I'm going to steal a little bit of a segment from Peter Levine, who is a prominent trauma expert in the community. You can just look up his name. He wrote a book called Waking the Tiger, which is a fantastic book. It talks a lot about trauma, a lot of the body-centered elements of trauma. But when I read that book, what really stuck out at me is he made comparisons between animals on the savannah and their ability to kind of work through trauma and ours. And what really stuck out at me was, if you have a gazelle that runs from a lion and eventually gets caught, the gazelle will do a certain number of things. First thing it'll do is if it gets caught and knocked down is it'll freeze because it's obviously in danger. But every once in a while the lion gets distracted. The lion wanders off because it's distracted by the pride or because it thinks that the gazelle is not going to run away. And if you watch what the gazelle does following the lion's departure, what the gazelle will do is the gazelle will actually go through a series of sequential events, a series of pauses, shakes, so on and so forth, such that eventually the gazelle will bolt and go off. And in Peter's book, what he basically postulates, and I think it's very valid, is that series of sequential events, much like the cut on the arm, is part of the way that the gazelle naturally heals from the traumatic experience neurologically. Now, gazelles don't have a thinking mind like you and I, so they don't have to necessarily attribute meaning to that traumatic experience. And because they don't have to attribute meaning and engage the cortex, they don't go back into the pride thinking and pining about why that experience had to happen to them and get all depressed. They go back into the pride as if nothing ever happened. And from a neurological standpoint, that is really actually what has happened. So in many regards, as it stands to and neurophysiology, our cortex is all at once our greatest asset, which makes us human, and also as it relates to trauma, one of our weaknesses. And so with that, the beauty of this experience is to know that the brain absolutely can heal itself. And, I've done this work for a lot of years and seen a lot of great stuff, but more than anything, if you've had a traumatic experience, if you've suffered from trauma, or if you're struggling in life, you have to know that there is a way to heal. There are certain types of therapies that help address that at a deeper level. And as practitioners in the field and doctors, we're still learning a ton about how the brain works, how the brain operates. But more than anything, important to know, the brain absolutely